For 45 centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood as a silent titan against the Egyptian horizon, a geometric prayer in stone. It is the only survivor of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. A structure so precise that its 4 sides are aligned to the cardinal points of the compass, with an error of only fractions of a degree. But for all its outward majesty, the true story of the pyramid lies not in the limestone casing that once gleamed like a star, but in the dark, pressurized silence of its interior, a labyrinth designed to deceive, to protect, and to hide a space that was never meant to be seen by human eyes. The architect's bird in the year was roughly 2560 BCE. Muon, the vizier and royal architect to Pharaoh Khufu, stood upon the Giza plateau. He wasn't just building a tomb, he was building a machine for eternity. The Great Pyramid, or Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu, was intended to be the physical launch pad for the king's soul to join the circumpolar stars, the imperishables. Muon knew that the wealth buried with a king was a magnet for the desperate and the greedy. He saw the failures of the pyramids before him, the cracked ceilings of the Dashur pyramids and the looted chambers of the ancestors. To protect Khufu, Muon did something radical. He didn't just build walls, he built a psychological and physical maze. He designed the Grand Gallery, a soaring, corbelled hallway of polished limestone, and the king's chamber, encased in red granite brought from Aswan, 500 miles away. But Muon's greatest masterpiece was the Big Void, a massive, hidden expanse directly above the Grand Gallery and a series of air shafts that were actually celestial pointers. These were not vents for breathing, they were tunnels for the spirit. And behind one of these shafts lay a secret so well guarded that it remained undisturbed for 4,500 years. The Caliph's violation fast forward to 820 AD. Caliph al-Mamun, the son of Harun al-Rashid, arrived at Giza with an army of engineers and a hunger for the knowledge of the ancient ones. He believed the pyramid contained maps of the stars, indestructible glass, and the wealth of the gods. Unable to find the hidden entrance, a swivel stone that looked like any other, his men used fire and cold vinegar to crack the massive limestone blocks. They tunneled blindly into the structure, a path now known as the Robber's Tunnel. By sheer luck, they vibrated the masonry enough that a stone plug fell in the internal passage, revealing the ascending passage. When they finally breached the king's chamber, they expected gold. Instead, they found silence. The great red granite sarcophagus was empty. No jewels, no papyrus, no mummy. The caliph's men were devastated, but the mystery only deepened. Had the tomb been robbed in antiquity, or had the pharaoh never been there to begin with? What al-Mamun didn't know was that he was walking beneath a ghost. High above his head, sealed behind 30 feet of solid rock, was a chamber he could never have sensed. The robot in the dark, the modern chapter of the chamber no one was meant to enter, began not with a pickaxe, but with a robot. In 1993, a German engineer named Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a small, treaded robot named Upuat II, the opener of ways, up the narrow 8-inch square shafts of the Queen's chamber. The world watched in breathless anticipation via a grainy video feed. The robot crawled 200 feet up the steep incline, its headlights flickering against the dusty walls. Suddenly, it stopped. A door. A limestone slab with 2 copper handles, the only metal found inside the pyramid's original masonry. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Why put a door at the end of a shaft too small for a human to crawl through? In 2002 and 2011, more advanced robots drilled through the door, only to find a small empty space and another door. It was a nesting doll of mysteries. The builders had created a space specifically designed to be inaccessible, a chamber of the spirit that defied every conventional rule of architecture. The Muon Revolution. Seeing through stone, the real breakthrough came in 2017 through a project called ScanPyramids. Using a technology called Muon Tomography, scientists from Japan, France, and Egypt did the impossible. They X-rayed the pyramid. Muons are high-energy particles that rain down from the upper atmosphere. They pass through empty space easily, but are absorbed by dense stone. By placing muon detectors in the Queen's chamber and outside the pyramid, researchers could see the density of the structure. What they found was the Big Void, Located directly above the Grand Gallery, this hidden expanse is at least 100 feet long. It isn't a crack or a structural flaw. It is a massive, intentionally constructed void. It has no known entrance. No shafts lead to it. No passages connect it to the rest of the pyramid. This is the chamber no one was meant to enter. It exists in a state of perpetual darkness, holding the air of the Old Kingdom, untouched by the breath of explorers, the smoke of torches, or the humidity of modern tourists. What lies within? The discovery of the Big Void has ignited a fierce debate. Some archaeologists, like the legendary Zahi Hawass, argue it might be a structural, relieving chamber, designed to take the weight off the Grand Gallery. But others, fueled by the precision of the construction, believe it holds something far more significant. Imagine a room filled with the iron of heaven, meteoric iron tools used in the opening of the mouth ceremony. Imagine walls inscribed with the pyramid texts, long before they appeared in the 5th dynasty. Or perhaps the true mummy of Khufu himself, resting in a chamber so well hidden that the empty, king's chamber below was merely a decoy for tomb robbers. The most haunting theory is that the void represents the primeval mound, the first dry land that rose from the waters of chaos in Egyptian mythology. By placing this void at the heart of the pyramid, Muon wasn't just building a room. He was capturing a piece of the beginning of time. The echo of eternity, the Great Pyramid, remains a testament to what humanity can achieve when it looks toward the stars. The chamber no one was meant to enter serves as a humbling reminder that we do not know everything about our past. Even today, as we use satellites and particle physics to peer into the stone, the pyramid guards its heart. It reminds us that some things were built for the gods, not for us. The void is a bridge between the physical world and the eternal, a silent pocket of history that continues to whisper to those who dare to look up at the stars and wonder. As the sun sets over the Giza plateau, casting long, triangular shadows across the sand, the Big Void remains in total darkness. It is a masterclass in secrecy, a 4,500-year-old promise kept by an architect who knew that the only way to truly protect a king was to bury him in a place that, according to all logic, should not exist. The corridor behind the chevrons, a 2023 breakthrough while the Big Void captured the world's imagination in 2017, the mystery took a more physical, concrete turn in early 2023. On the north face of the pyramid, just behind the massive limestone chevrons, the V-shaped stones visible from the outside, scientists suspected another hidden space. Using an ultramodern endoscope, a camera only 6 millimeters wide, the ScanPyramids team managed to peek through a tiny gap between the stones. What they saw was a time capsule. A 9-meter-long, 30-foot corridor appeared on the monitor with a vaulted ceiling. The stones were pristine, white, and sharp-edged, as if they had been laid yesterday. Unlike the tunnels tourists walk through today, which are smoothed by millions of hands and darkened by humidity, this chamber was pure. There were no inscriptions, no gold, and no dust. It was an architectural ghost. The existence of this north face corridor suggests that the pyramid is not a solid mass of stone, but a complex, multi-layered organism. Experts believe this corridor was designed to redistribute the weight around the main entrance, an engineering trick that has kept the structure from collapsing under its own 6-million-ton weight for millennia. But it also raises a haunting question. If this small corridor was hidden so well, what else is tucked away in the limestone heart of the mountain? The granite enigma, lifting the impossible to understand why a chamber no one was meant to enter, is so significant. One must understand the sheer impossibility of the king's chamber itself. Located deep within the pyramid, the king's chamber is built entirely of red granite. Each block weighs between 25 and 80 tons. For perspective, 80 tons is roughly the weight of 2 fully loaded semi-trucks. These stones were not found at Giza. They were quarried in Aswan and floated down the Nile on specialized barges. How did the ancient Egyptians lift these massive blocks 140 feet into the air? Mainstream archaeology suggests a system of internal or external ramps, a feat of brute strength and logistical genius. However, when you stand inside the chamber, the math starts to feel like magic. The joints between these 80-ton blocks are so tight that you cannot slide a credit card between them. They are not held together by mortar, but by precision. Above the king's chamber are 5 relieving chambers. These are small, low-ceilinged spaces stacked on top of each other, intended to stop the pyramid's weight from crushing the king's final resting place. Curiously, it is only here in these dark, cramped voids that the builders left their graffiti. Red ochre marks state, the gang. Horus Medido is strong, and year 17 of Khufu. These marks prove that Khufu built the pyramid, but they also highlight a strange contrast. The areas meant to be seen were perfect and sterile, while the hidden voids were the only places where the human touch of the workers was allowed to remain. The Soul's Highway. The star shafts the Great Pyramid is the only Egyptian pyramid to contain air shafts. For decades, they were thought to be for ventilation. But a simple realization debunked this. The shafts in the Queen's chamber were sealed at both ends. They didn't let air in and they didn't let air out. In the 1960s, astronomers realized something profound. If you go back to 2500 BCE, these shafts pointed directly at specific stars. The northern shafts pointed toward the circumpolar stars, the imperishables, where the Egyptians believed the soul became eternal. The southern shafts pointed toward Orion's belt in Sirius. In Egyptian mythology, Orion represented Osiris, the god of the dead, and Sirius represented Isis. The shafts were not for the living to breathe. They were soul circuits. They were cosmic cannons designed to launch the Pharaoh's Ka, spirit, directly into the heart of the gods. The fact that these shafts lead to sealed doors with copper handles suggests that the chamber no one was meant to enter might be a spiritual destination. It wasn't meant for a body, it was meant for a transformation. The hidden city, who were the builders. For centuries, the Western world believed the pyramids were built by thousands of mistreated slaves, a narrative popularized by Hollywood and the Greek historian Herodotus. However, the archaeology of the last 30 years tells a different, more human story. South of the Giza Plateau, archaeologists discovered the lost city of the pyramid builders. This wasn't a slave camp, it was a highly organized town. They found bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread, evidence of high-quality beef in the workers' diets, and a cemetery. The skeletons found in this cemetery show signs of intense physical labor, but they also show something else: medical care. We see bones that were perfectly set after a break, and even evidence of successful brain surgery. These workers were not slaves. They were a national workforce, perhaps a seasonal draft of farmers who worked on the pyramid when the Nile flooded their fields. They believed in the mission. To build the pyramid was to ensure the cosmic order of Egypt. They weren't just moving stones, they were building the very fabric of their universe. When we look for the secret chamber, we are looking for the heart of their devotion. The secrecy wasn't just to hide gold, it was to protect the sacred center from the profanity of the outside world. The philosophy of the void. Why the secrecy? Why go to such lengths to create a big void and hide it for 4,000 years? To the ancient Egyptian mind, the greatest threat to existence was not death, but disorder, isfit. If a tomb was robbed, if a mummy was destroyed, or if a name was forgotten, the soul would die a second death, which was permanent. The hidden chambers were a form of architectural insurance. By creating a space that no one could find, Muon ensured that at least one part of the king's essence remained in total. Undisturbed silence, the state of the universe before the first time, Zep Tepi. In many ways, the big void is the ultimate monument to the unknown. It represents the part of the human experience that cannot be measured by tools or cameras, the mystery of what happens after the light goes out. The future, what happens next? Today, the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities is extremely cautious. There will be no Indiana Jones-style smashing of walls. The future of exploration at Giza is non-invasive. Scientists are currently developing more sensitive muon detectors, and even flying, miniature robotic blimps that could potentially be inflated inside a void after being inserted through a tiny drill. Hole. We are on the verge of finally entering the big void. But when we do, what will we find? A room of records, containing the lost history of a civilization we still barely understand. The true sarcophagus, hidden away while the world focused on the decoy chamber below. Nothing, a vast, empty space designed to baffle the mind and protect the structure. Whatever the answer, the Great Pyramid has already achieved its goal. It has kept us talking, searching, and wondering for 4,500 years. It remains the world's greatest puzzle, a mountain of stone that proves that while human lives are short, the things we build with purpose can touch the infinite. The desert may not keep secrets, but the Great Pyramid is the exception. It is a stone fortress for the soul, and its most important room, the one no one was meant to enter, remains the greatest unopened letter in human history. The Iron of Heaven, a celestial treasure. If the Big Void, or the chamber no one was meant to enter, does contain physical objects, archaeologists have a tantalizing theory about what they might be. It isn't gold. To the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, gold was the flesh of the gods. But there was something even more precious, rarer than any gemstone, meteoric iron. Before the Iron Age began, the only way to obtain iron was to harvest it from fallen meteorites. The Egyptians called it Bayen Pet, or the Iron of Heaven. They believed this metal was literally a piece of the sky, the bones of the gods themselves. In the tomb of Tutankhamun, a dagger made of meteoric iron was found, still sharp and virtually rust-free after 3,000 years. If a minor king like Tutankhamun had such a weapon, what might Khufu, the greatest builder in history, have hidden in a chamber sealed by the gods? Some theorists suggest the Big Void could hold a celestial throne made of this heavenly iron, designed for the pharaoh to sit upon as he traveled through the stars. To find such a relic would not just be an archaeological discovery, it would be like finding a piece of a different world. The architecture of deception. Himiunu's masterstroke. We often look at the Great Pyramid as a tomb, but Himiunu designed it as a fortress of psychology. Every explorer, from the Roman travelers to Al-Mamun, was led to the king's chamber. It is the most obvious destination. But consider the brilliance of the design. The king's chamber is located at a very specific height, and the grand gallery leads to it with such theatrical beauty that any intruder would naturally assume this is the heart of the pyramid. However, the Big Void sits above this path. It is hidden in plain sight, masked by the massive scale of the limestone blocks. Himiunu relied on the fact that humans are horizontal creatures. We look for doors in walls, not secrets hidden in the solid ceiling. By placing the most important chamber in a space that has no physical connection to the known passage system, the architect ensured that even if the pyramid were breached, the true heart would remain beating in the dark, untouched. It is a level of strategic planning that rivals modern high-security vaults. The echoes in the stone, the acoustic mystery. There is another, more eerie dimension to these hidden chambers: sound. Acoustic engineers who have been allowed to conduct tests inside the king's chamber have discovered that the room is tuned to a specific frequency. When a human voice intones a low note, the granite walls, which are rich in quartz crystal, begin to vibrate. The room acts as a giant resonator. The discovery of the Big Void has led some researchers to wonder if these hidden spaces weren't just for storage or weight distribution, but for resonance. In many ancient cultures, sound was the key to opening the gates of the afterlife. Could the Big Void be an acoustic buffer or an amplifier for the rituals performed in the chambers below? Imagine a priest chanting in the grand gallery, his voice traveling up into the massive hidden void, creating a standing wave of sound that vibrated the very core of the Giza plateau. For the Egyptians, this wouldn't have been science fiction. It would have been the science of the soul. The final guard, the ethics of discovery as we stand on the threshold of 2026. The question is no longer if we can see inside the chamber, but if we should. The chamber no one was meant to enter was a final wish from a civilization that is now gone. Every time we drill a hole or send a robot, we are breaking a 4,500-year-old seal. There is a profound ethical debate in Cairo and among global historians. Does our modern curiosity override the ancient right to privacy? Is the secret more valuable to humanity than the answer? For now, the ScanPyramids team continues to refine their Muon maps. They are creating a high-definition 3D ghost of the interior. We are seeing the pyramid's skeleton without touching a single stone. We are becoming the first generation to enter the chamber without ever stepping foot inside it. The living monument, the Great Pyramid, is not a dead building. It is a living puzzle that adapts to the technology of the era that studies it. To the Middle Ages, it was a granary or a mountain of gold. To the Victorian era, it was a mathematical prophecy in stone. To us, it is a masterclass in physics, engineering, and cosmic alignment. The chamber no one was meant to enter remains the ultimate symbol of the Great Pyramid's power. It reminds us that no matter how much we think we know, the ancients were always one step ahead. They built a structure that could survive the rise and fall of empires, the changing of religions, and the birth of modern science, all while keeping its most precious secret safe in the pressurized silence of the desert night. Khufu's horizon is still there, glowing under the Egyptian sun, waiting for the day we are finally ready to understand what the void is trying to tell us. A virtual step into the void. The heir of the ancestors, imagine, for a moment, that you could transcend the laws of physics. Imagine you could pass through the 60 feet of solid limestone that separates the Grand Gallery from the big void. As you step inside, the first thing that hits you is the silence. It is not the silence of an empty room. It is a heavy, pressurized silence that feels like it has weight. The air here hasn't moved in 4,500 years. It is dry, tasting of ancient dust and the faint, metallic scent of the surrounding minerals. Unlike the king's chamber, there are no torch marks on the walls. No explorer has ever stood here. The stones are raw, perhaps roughly hewn, or perhaps polished to a mirror finish. We don't yet know. If you were to turn on a flashlight, the beam would struggle to pierce the absolute darkness. This is a place that was designed to exist in the absence of light, a physical representation of the Juat, the Egyptian underworld where the sun travels at night. In the center of this void, there might be nothing but the spirit of the king. To the Egyptians, a void wasn't empty, it was full of potential. It was the womb of the sky. The machine theory, was it more than a tomb? While historians lean toward the funerary purpose of the pyramid, a growing group of physicists and engineers look at the structure and see a machine. In 2018, a study published in the Journal of Applied Physics revealed something startling. The Great Pyramid can concentrate electromagnetic energy in its internal chambers and under its base. When hit by radio waves of a certain frequency, the pyramid acts like a giant resonant cavity. This isn't ancient aliens talk, it's pure geometry and material science. The limestone and granite used in the construction contain high amounts of quartz. Quartz is piezoelectric. It can generate an electrical charge under pressure. With millions of tons of stone pressing down, the pyramid is essentially a massive, static battery. The chamber no one was meant to enter might be the key to this system. If the pyramid was designed to focus energy toward the king's soul to help it ascend, then the big void might act as a capacitor, storing and regulating that energy. Whether this was a literal physical process or a symbolic one remains the greatest debate in the field. But the fact that the math of the pyramid aligns with the physics of energy resonance is a coincidence that keeps modern scientists awake at night. The mystery of the Sphinx, a connected secret. You cannot talk about the hidden chambers of the Great Pyramid without looking 1,500 feet to the east, where the Great Sphinx stands guard. For decades, legends have persisted about a hall of records hidden beneath the Sphinx's paws, a library of the lost wisdom of Atlantis or an earlier, pre-flood civilization. Ground-penetrating radar has indeed shown anomalies and tunnels beneath the Sphinx. Many believe that the big void inside the pyramid and the tunnels beneath the Sphinx are part of a single, massive Giza grid. The chamber no one was meant to enter might not be a dead end. It might be the start of a vertical shaft or a spiritual link that connects the heavens, the pyramid, with the earth, the Sphinx. The Egyptians saw the Giza Plateau as a map of the cosmos carved in stone. Every chamber, every void, and every tunnel was a line in that map. Why we still look, why does a void in a pile of old rocks in the Egyptian desert command the front pages of world news in the 21st century? It's because the Great Pyramid is the ultimate mirror. To the Romans, it was a wonder of empire. To the Arab caliphs, it was a vault of gold. To the Enlightenment scientists, it was a mathematical proof. To us, it is a mystery of technology and human potential. The chamber no one was meant to enter represents the part of our own history we haven't written yet. It reminds us that our ancestors weren't primitive. They were masters of a kind of knowledge we are only just beginning to rediscover, a synthesis of astronomy, architecture, and spirituality that we have since broken apart into separate boxes. The final shadow as the modern world moves faster, with our satellites, AI, and constant noise, the Great Pyramid stands as the ultimate still point. Inside that big void, time doesn't exist. There is no 2026, no 1993, no 820 AD. There is only the intent of Muon and the dream of Khufu. Perhaps the chamber was never meant to be entered because it isn't for us. It is a time capsule that doesn't contain objects, but an idea. The idea that humanity can build something that lasts forever. The void is the heart of the pyramid, and as long as it remains unopened, the mystery remains alive. And perhaps in a world where everything is mapped, tracked, and known, we need that one last secret. The Great Pyramid doesn't just sit on the sand. It sits on the edge of our understanding, beckoning us to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep looking at the stars. The 2025 mission, the eyes of the scarab. As we move into the present day of 2026, the mystery of the Big Void has entered its most high-stakes phase. Following the successful mapping of the North Face Corridor in 2023, an international consortium, led by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, authorized a mission that sounded like science fiction only a decade ago. The mission utilized bio-inspired micro-drones, nicknamed scarabs. These are tiny, foldable flying robots designed to be inserted through a hole no larger than a human thumb. In late 2025, a specialized team drilled a surgical micro-borehole from the ceiling of the Grand Gallery upward toward the southern end of the Big Void. The footage captured was transformative. For the first time, we saw the internal texture of the chamber no one was meant to enter. Unlike the polished granite of the King's Chamber, the walls of the Big Void appear to be stepped or corbelled, much like the Grand Gallery itself. But more interestingly, the cameras detected strange, dark residues on the floor, organic matter that has been sent for spectroscopic analysis. Is it the remains of ancient wooden sleds? Or perhaps the remnants of papyrus scrolls that have long since turned to dust? These findings have shifted the consensus. The Big Void was likely not just a structural gap, but a functional space used during the construction, which was then sealed with a finality that suggests it held something the architects considered complete. The Great Deception. Why the empty sarcophagus? The most haunting question of the Giza Plateau remains. Where is Khufu? When Caliph Al-Mamun broke into the king's chamber in 820 AD, he found a lidless sarcophagus of chocolate-colored granite. It was empty. There was no mummy, no jewelry, and no signs of a forced entry through the original plugs. This has led to the double-blind theory. In this scenario, the king's chamber was a decoy. Muon, the architect, knew that even the most massive stones could eventually be breached. He built the Grand Gallery and the king's chamber to look like the ultimate destination, while the true burial chamber, the Big Void, remained hidden behind 30 feet of invisible masonry. If this theory holds true, Khufu is still there. He is resting in the absolute darkness of the Big Void, surrounded by the treasures of the 4th dynasty, untouched by the grave robbers of the 19th century or the archaeologists of the 20th. He would be the only pharaoh in history to have successfully defeated time and greed. The sand trap defense. Engineering for eternity, the chamber no one was meant to enter was protected by more than just stone walls. It was protected by physics. Architects have discovered evidence of primitive, but lethal security systems inside the pyramid. Above the entrance to the king's chamber, there are grooves designed to hold massive granite slabs in a portcullis system. But even more ingenious was the use of sand release mechanisms. Some theories suggest that certain voids within the pyramid were filled with fine, pressurized sand. If a robber were to remove a specific key, stone, the sand would flow out like an hourglass, causing massive stone blocks to drop into place, forever sealing the passage behind the intruder. The Big Void may be the ultimate version of this, a room whose very existence is dependent on the structural equilibrium of the stones around it. To enter it incorrectly is to trigger the collapse of the very secret you are trying to find. The Emerald Tablet and the Hermetic myth for centuries, the chamber no one was meant to enter, has been linked to the legend of the Emerald Tablet. This mythical artifact, said to be written by Hermes Trismegistus, often identified with the Egyptian god Thoth, was believed to contain the secrets of alchemy and the universe. Medieval alchemists believed the tablet was hidden in a secret room within the Great Pyramid. While modern archaeology dismisses the idea of Atlantis or magical tablets, the symbolism is powerful. The pyramid represents the great work of alchemy, the transformation of base stone into a divine shape. The discovery of the Big Void has given a new life to these old stories. If there is a room that was never meant to be entered, it is the perfect place to store the knowledge of the gods. Even the most skeptical scientists admit that the pyramid was designed to be a library of proportions. Its dimensions encode the value of pi dollar, the circumference of the Earth, and the speed of light, 299, 792, 458 meters per second, which curiously matches the latitude of the pyramid. 29, 9,792,458 /circ$N. The legacy of the void as we look toward the 2030s, the Great Pyramid of Giza continues to stand as a bridge between our technological future and our mysterious past. The chamber no one was meant to enter is a testament to the power of the hidden. In a world where we can see the surface of Mars in high definition and track every move on Earth via satellite, the Big Void remains a black box. It is a reminder that the human spirit needs mystery to thrive. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to realize that the most important parts of a structure, or a person, are often the parts that are kept secret. Himeunu's masterpiece has succeeded. It has protected its king. It has baffled the world's greatest minds, and it continues to inspire awe in the hearts of millions. The desert does not keep secrets, but it does respect the Great Pyramid. And the Big Void, tucked away in the silent, pressurized heart of the stone, remains the most successful secret ever kept in the history of mankind. Summary of the Great Pyramid's hidden secrets: 2560 BCE, 2026 AD, Discovery Era Key, finding significance 820 AD, Al-Mamun's tunnel, first modern entry into the internal passage system. 1993, Gantenbrink's door robot finds a sealed door in the Queen's chamber shaft. 2017, the Big Void Muon Tomography reveals a 100 FT plus hidden expanse. 2023, North Face Corridor Endoscope camera confirms a pristine, vaulted hallway. 2025-26 Scarab Drone Missions Micro-Exploration reveals organic residues and structural details. The story of the Great Pyramid is far from over. As you read these words, the muon detectors at Giza are silently gathering data, particle by particle, slowly painting a picture of what lies inside the Big Void. We are the generation that might finally see the face of the king, or perhaps we will find that the greatest treasure was the journey to find him. The final seal, a journey through time to finish the story of the chamber no one was meant to enter. We must return to the very moment the mystery began, the day the pyramid was closed. It is 2560 BCE. The sun is dipping below the horizon, painting the limestone casing of the pyramid in shades of bruised purple and gold. Himeunu, now an old man, watches as the final granite plugs are slid into place. He knows that in the millennia to come, empires will fall, the language of his people will be forgotten, and the very names of the gods may change. But his work will remain. As the heavy portcullis stones drop into the grooves with a bone-jarring thud, the Big Void is finally isolated from the world of the living. For Himeunu, this wasn't a burial, it was a launch. He believed that by trapping the breath of the king in a chamber without doors, he was tethering Khufu's spirit to the earth while simultaneously allowing it to roam the stars. The void was the engine room of eternity. He turns away, leaving the plateau to the wind and the sand, confident that no human would ever set foot in that space again. 2026, the threshold of history, fast forward back to the present. The muon data is nearly complete. The Scarab drones have returned their final telemetry. The world waits for a discovery, but the true realization is starting to dawn on the scientific community. The Big Void is not a destination, it is a message. In the final analysis of 2026, researchers have found that the Big Void isn't just a room. It is a synthesis of all Egyptian knowledge. Its dimensions are a perfect mirror of the grand gallery below it, creating a symmetry that suggests, as above, so below. We have learned that the chamber was likely left empty of gold for a reason. In the Old Kingdom, the greatest treasure wasn't yellow metal. It was math, balance, truth, and cosmic order. By leaving a massive, perfectly engineered void at the center of the world's heaviest structure, the builders were making a statement about the power of the unseen. They were teaching us that the most important part of any structure, be it a pyramid, a society, or a human soul, is the space within. The unending mystery today, the Great Pyramid, stands not as a ruin, but as a silent teacher. The chamber no one was meant to enter remains the ultimate guardian of our past. Even as our technology allows us to peer through the stone, the pyramid keeps its dignity. We may see the walls, we may measure the dust, but we will never truly know the prayers whispered by the priests who sealed it, or the dreams of the thousands of workers who hauled the stones. The story of the Great Pyramid is the story of humanity's refusal to be forgotten. It is a 4,500-year-old hello from a civilization that looked at the stars and saw a home. As the digital scans of 2026 create a perfect virtual replica of the Big Void, we realize that Himiunu's plan worked. He didn't just build a tomb, he built a time machine. By creating a secret that took 4,500 years to even detect, he ensured that we, the people of the future, would have to stop, look up from our screens, and wonder. The desert does not keep secrets, it merely waits for us to be smart enough to find them. And in the heart of the Great Pyramid, in a chamber filled with the silence of the ages, the Pharaoh Khufu still keeps his watch. Protected by the genius of an architect who knew that some things are too sacred to ever be touched by the light of day. The echo in the sand, the Great Pyramid, remains. It has survived earthquakes that leveled cities, the rise of the Roman Empire, the Industrial Revolution, and the birth of the digital age. And through it all, the Big Void has remained unchanged. A pocket of 2560 BCE preserved in the heart of the 21st century. As we look toward the future, perhaps the greatest lesson of the chamber no one was meant to enter is this: we are a species that builds. We build to bridge the gap between the temporary and the eternal. And as long as the pyramid stands, we will never stop searching for the secrets hidden in the stone, for in finding them, we find the best parts of ourselves. The story ends here in the cool, pressurized darkness of the Great Void. But for the pyramid, it is just another day in the span of eternity. Thanks for watching.